Welcome to Technado with Don Pizzette, featuring sysadmin expert Don Pizzette, security specialist Daniel Lowry, and Peter.
Hello and welcome to Technado with Don Pizzette. I'm your host, Peter Van Rysdam, and I am joined this week by Don Pizzette. Don, how you doing?
I am doing great. You know, this is normally the part where I make a comment on the great news articles that we have, which we certainly do, and our guest. But today we're doing something a little extra special, so it should be a fun episode. Should be.
Should be.
I mean, the extra
operative word.
Extra special part's not necessarily fun, but we'll see. And Daniel, how are you today? Got your Monster energy drink there?
Sponsored by, well, not sponsored by.
We're gonna get a high level of energy from Daniel today.
It is dang tasty.
Really?
I will say. Yeah, it tastes just like a Crush or a...
What is the orange? Oh, it's in like an orange Crush.
Yeah. It tastes
What,
just like
what
an
was
Orange
the
Crush.
one in Hot Tub Time Machine? It was like Chernobyl.
Chernobyl, yep.
Yeah. Fitting.
Weird.
Fitting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, today what we're doing is a little bit different, as Don alluded to. We're really just going to do the news. We're going to play a little game. We've got a special segment a little bit later where we focus in on how technology is affecting the situation going on in Ukraine. So a lot to get to. So let's just jump right into our first article here, which is from ArsTechnica.com. DisplayPort 2.0 labels specify bandwidth to avoid HDMI 2.1 like confusion.
Much like the headline.
Yeah, confusion.
This one was a little bit like what the hell is going on?
So there was confusion with HDMI 2.1 cables is what we're saying?
Yeah.
And we were trying to avoid that.
So there is just a giant debacle, a Charlie Foxtrot, I don't know, whatever acronym you want to use, going on in the world of cabling standards. And it's getting downright difficult to figure out what the heck a port is on your computer these days. And it all started with USB-C. Well, I say it started with USB-C. Other people say it started elsewhere. But with USB-C, where you might have a USB-C port on your computer, but you don't necessarily know, does it do power? Like, can I plug my charger into it? Does it do video out? Does it support dual video out or just single? Does it do 4K at 60 hertz or just 4K at 30 hertz? It was like so much mystery, and it's all one port. Well, HDMI had the same kind of thing where HDMI 2.0 was a standard for a while, and then when HDMI 2.1 came out as a standard, the lowest end specs of HDMI 2.1 overlapped with the highest end specs of HDMI 2.0, and so cable vendors just went and relabeled all their 2.0 stuff as 2.1, and technically they weren't lying, but now you had these cables that didn't support some of the newer features. It's been a nightmare. And so the people who manage the DisplayPort standard are trying to avoid that, and their solution is a little less than graceful. It's stickers.
Wow, we all like a sticker. My kids love them.
They
think they're great. So.
Just putting them right there on the old on the cable.
Yeah, so if there's a sticker, maybe your girls will appreciate that. Well, shoot, I'm trying to think of a Disney princess, and Annabelle is what popped in my head, but that's that demon doll, right? So what's the frozen princess lady?
That's Elsa.
There we go. So if there's an Elsa sticker on the cable, then you've likely got a UBHR or Ultra or HBR, there we go, ultra high bitrate cable, capable of doing 80 gigawatts per second or whatever it is it does. So this is where the confusion comes from. So there's ones that do 40 gigabits, which would be labeled with a 40, and there's one that do 80, which would be labeled with an 80. So now you'll be able to look at the cable at a glance and know what the cable is.
Seems pretty straightforward. Or they could not overlap the standards.
I mean, the problem is for most people like myself who would look at 80 and say, is that the good one? I don't know, unless I have the other cable next to it and I don't know the spec. I'm like, well, this one's an 80. Well, I'm going to go get myself 100 and see what
if it works, I'm happy.
Yeah.
The old solution was anytime they came up with a new standard, they changed the interface. But you don't want to change the interface just for the sake of changing the interface. But one thing this doesn't fix is, they'll put a sticker on the cable. That's great. They don't put a sticker on the port. So if I look at the back of a computer and I see a DisplayPort,
which one it is.
Right. So it's not a perfect solution, but it's getting there, I guess.
So, you would think that they would try to make the new cables backward compatible with all the other standards that connector supports. Mm-hmm. Do they do that?
Oh, they're backwards compatible.
So
Yep.
if I have the newest one, I'm good.
If you have the newest cable,
Right,
yes.
cable.
Yeah,
Right.
yep.
I should be able to plug in whatever the hell I feel like doing.
Correct.
And it gives me whatever.
If your cable is newer than your port, you're fine. But if it's the other way around, you might not
have
be.
issues,
But
yeah.
you know who handled this really gracefully, though? USB 3. Remember when USB 3 came
Oh,
out?
yeah, yeah.
And they made the inside of the cables blue.
Yep.
It was super easy to recognize that if you saw blue. And
Good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you just had to
Yeah.
bite the cable and look on the inside.
And think
Oh, you
about-
mean the end, the
Yeah.
tip?
Yeah, the little plastic
that
connector.
makes more
Plastic
sense.
tab in
I was like, this one's oh crap. Now I ruined this cable too.
Which, DisplayPort and HDMI don't have the plastic tab inside of them, but you can
Yeah.
still make them a color on the inside or even on the outside. Who
Yeah,
knows?
or it could be gold plated tip or versus a silver or something like that.
Yeah.
So if the inside of the connector had some sort of marking, you would know.
Right.
It is this standard.
Or even on the outside. I don't know. But if it was something simple like that, you've got at least 8 standard colors that people recognize, right? What's the rainbow
that's
colors,
right.
So you just go with those. That gets you 8 standards.
Bam.
And
You're good to go.
And there are ones that I believe work with color blindness
Well,
that you can still have enough differential.
that cuts our colors down,
Well,
darn it.
what led up to these kind of confusing issues? Why does this occur?
Progress.
So 2 things. So one, it's a little bit of laziness, right? Like they don't want to redesign the ports. But the second thing is there's actually e-waste laws that are coming into play where the European Union is saying you need to stick with an interface.
We covered that, didn't we? We talked about this before.
Yeah, we
with
did.
Apple's
Yes.
Lightning. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, because they
So,
had to
okay,
switch to
I
the.
think that's probably a valid argument. It's like, hey, I don't want a drawer, which I already have, a drawer full of 1,000 different cables. All of them do different things. I just want to keep the same type of cable.
Which
plug that
Nokia
in.
phone does this charge?
Well, I love HDMI cables. I've got a bunch in my drawer that say HDMI with high-speed internet.
Yeah.
Or high-speed Ethernet, or
Right.
some actually say internet.
Nice.
I have never found a device that used Ethernet over the HDMI cable, but
No, yeah.
it's part of the standard.
Well,
Interesting.
God bless them.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I guess.
All right, so don't peel those stickers off right when you get the cable.
Oh, crap. I
That's
didn't even
important.
think about that.
Yeah.
Somebody peels a sticker off, the whole thing goes out the window.
Who put this crap on my cable?
I mean, yeah, because sometimes you have those little tag kind of
Yeah.
stickers that you're like, oh, I'll rip this off, rip this off.
Although I remember when USB 2 came out, and they said, well, what we'll do is we'll put SS on the cable for super speed.
No.
But when I heard SS, the first thing I thought was,
Not that.
Gestapo, right?
No.
But they did, damn sure for years, there was an SS written on those cables because it supported USB 2.0.
It's a blitzkrieg of data.
So you could have thought Chevrolet. They had the
Yeah.
Super Sports.
Yeah, they ruined
And
that
the
too.
Camaro.
I'm surprised actually that went out in the 50s or
What's that?
60s.
The
that they were
Super
like
Sport?
SS works.
That would have been the 60s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because
They have SS until.
those guys working there were probably over there in France.
Yeah. It would have been like 60. It would have been late 60s, actually. Maybe they had thought.
Maybe enough time
maybe
had
they did.
passed.
Yeah, enough time has passed. It's not like they were sticking lightning bolts on the side of it.
No.
I guess there does come a time where it becomes okay, right? Like Hogan's Heroes was on TV.
You got to take it back at some point. Yeah. We're going to make jokes.
Yeah, Harry Potter, they're like, we will put a lightning bolt on his head. Just the one, though. Just the one.
Just the one.
All right, let's move on to our next article. It comes to us from WindowsCentral.com. Microsoft clears up confusion about OneDrive files on macOS.
No, they didn't.
It's now easier to tell if your files are stored locally or just in the cloud on OneDrive. So a lot of confusion getting cleared up today. First, we have cables and stickers.
It's all about
Is this sticker-based as well? Are there stickers now on your files?
It's icons, not stickers,
Okay.
but similar. So
E-stickers.
Same idea.
we talked about the
Digital
OneDrive client a couple of weeks ago, right? Because with some of the changes in macOS Monterey, they broke a lot of the dynamic syncing clients like OneDrive. Microsoft's rolled out an update, and they've actually got in beta a fully native M1 version of the OneDrive client that's going to launch any day now. But one thing they rolled out that created some confusion was the little icon that identifies whether a file is in the cloud or downloaded for local use, right? With a dynamic client, if a file is in the cloud, it shows up, and when you click on it, it downloads it at that time, so it doesn't eat up all your hard drive space. Kind of a nice feature to have. Well, if the icon was a little picture of a cloud, that meant it was up in the cloud and it wasn't downloaded. But if it was a cloud with a down arrow on it, that meant that it was downloaded locally. Now, I can see where the designers might have thought of that, but when I look at the cloud and I see a down arrow, that makes me think, oh, I need to download this.
Yeah, it's telling me this is the button to click to download.
Right. Versus the old model where it was like a gray circle if it was in the cloud or a green check mark if it was downloaded. Like green to me meant it was local.
It's good, yeah.
So they've corrected that. They've bumped off the little icon for the down arrow. They've removed that, and so now you've got the two colored clouds.
So it's two lightning bolts coming out of the cloud.
And it asks you for your papers.
And that very well could happen one day. But so they are changing it now. I'm looking at mine right now. On mine, I am running the latest full release client, and I still have the cloud with a down arrow on mine. But the new icon is coming soon, and there's actually another little like a gray check mark beside it if you got it set to always be available locally. So those changes are coming down the line. We'll see them roll out soon.
But you said something about M1. Is that only for Macs with the M1 chip?
So the native client, yeah. So there's already an Intel client, so that's what's running on all the Macs right now.
Okay.
Even the M1s run the Intel client. They run it in compatibility mode, and then the native M1 client will replace that.
Yeah.
See, I would have just made a little cloud icon to let you know it's in the cloud.
And maybe a disk icon if it was on your disk.
Yeah. Hey, that's a novel idea. I like how we worked on that for all of like 12 seconds.
Kids these days don't know what a disk is, though.
We'd have to charge Apple millions. Actually, there was a study on this because a comment came up about the icons we have on our phones don't make sense anymore, right? Like the hang up is a red handset.
Oh, right. We don't use those anymore.
And nobody uses a handset anymore, right? And so they're saying, hey, kids these days don't know handset. Or when you save a file, it's a picture of a floppy disk. Nobody uses a floppy disk anymore.
It's just the save icon.
I would like to see the results of that study because I would think most kids do know what a handset is.
But they don't know what the origin of like
but
the
they
disk.
don't need to. They just need to know what that means.
Yeah. So that they found that people do know the symbol, right? And if you think about when we were kids, like on your tape recorder, I'm sure you had one. The play button was a triangle, and the record button was a red circle. Well, what does a red circle have to do with anything?
I don't know.
But we knew that meant record, right? So
they had to come up with something.
So it's okay for us to have archaic icons.
That's right. As long as everybody understands what they mean.
Yeah.
Who the hell cares?
Cave drawings originally were. That's what they had.
Just a giant play button. I want play.
Yeah.
I run past cave real fast.
Yeah, in front of the light.
Yeah.
And it's kind of fascinating if you start thinking about the symbols that you see that you don't even realize you associate with things. Like if I'm on a website, the little bookmark symbol for bookmarking a web page, right? It's a cloth bookmark.
It's like the ribbon. Yeah.
Which, again, nobody uses anymore, but we all know it. Or a star to favorite something. Like, what does a star have to do with favorites? But
it's a star.
We know. Yeah.
Right.
It's or a heart.
Right. Heart favorite. Yeah, that makes more sense, I think.
It's Patrick from SpongeBob, I think, is what the star was.
SpongeBob has come up so many times for me in the last week, and I've never watched an episode of SpongeBob.
So neither have I.
Even with your kids?
My kids turned on the TV the other day, and they put something on. I'm like, what is this? And then I was like, is this SpongeBob? And they're like, I think it is. Because my kids don't watch SpongeBob.
Nice.
But they put it on. They saw it, and they put it on because they'd heard of it. And I'm like, okay, whatever.
It's a cartoon, right?
It's a cartoon.
After it's over, we'll watch Archer. It'll be fine.
Yeah, no. Follow that up with some Rick and Morty.
Yeah, kids love it.
Yeah.
Back when I used to watch it with Sponge Robert.
Sponge Robert.
That's how old.
And then the MTV version of Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah.
Do not.
Wait, were there
watch that
different
with your
versions?
kid. Oh,
That was terrible.
Yeah.
What was the other version?
That was on Nickelodeon.
Yep.
That's where
MTV,
that's where they
right,
became
yeah.
popular, and then it got canceled off Nickelodeon, and it got picked up by MTV, right?
Yeah, something like that.
And then it went different.
It definitely went different.
Yeah, log took on a whole new connotation.
Yeah.
All right, our next article comes to us from Phoronix.com. Linux's ReiserFS plan is to deprecate it, remove the file system in 2025. Did I say that right? ReiserFS?
Yeah.
Yep, ReiserFS.
Okay, what is that?
So it is a
Reiser.
That's what I thought. I was like, I am mad about this plan.
He's working for the company, and
a lot of people are going, "Who the hell is Paul Reiser?"
Yeah, our director amongst them.
Yeah.
he was in Aliens. Right?
He was in Aliens. That's right. Aliens fame.
That's what I think of when I think of Paul Reiser.
Was he 3 Men and a Baby?
No,
No, that's
was
Steve
in,
Guttenberg.
My Two Dads. Right? No, was he in that?
No, he was in
Who was that?
Mad About You.
He wasn't.
Was he one of the two dads? He might have been.
I want to say he was.
Who
now.
knows? But you know what he wasn't? He wasn't the guy who created ReiserFS. That was a totally different guy.
That's called false information.
Good point. Good point.
ReiserFS was a file system that came out in the 1990s that was one of the first journaling file systems for Linux. It was a big deal at the time, and it brought that feature in. A lot of people started to adopt it. It was developing pretty quickly. It had some neat features that were unique to it. It stored small files really well. It did a lot of really good Linux type things. But it had a bit of a problem, which was the active production support for it. Other companies like Oracle had their own file systems they were developing, and so ReiserFS was kind of always on the fringe. The guy who founded it, the Reiser,
Paul.
I can't remember his first name. It wasn't Paul. He kind of murdered his wife, and
murdered.
He went to jail.
He fell down the stairs and shot his wife in the face.
And ever since then, the file system's been a bit just people haven't really known whether it was going to stick around or not. But here we are in 2022. It's still supported in the mainline Linux kernel. They've finally made the decision that they're going to be dropping mainline support for it in 2025. So over the next couple of years. So if you're one of those people that still uses ReiserFS, because it is used a few places, now's the time to start working on that migration plan. And there's plenty of new options that are typically better.
See, I thought you were going to go, now's the time to start the revolution and bring it back. Don't let it die.
Well, you could if somebody actively maintained it, right? But
everybody just got to drum up enough, goodwill toward it.
Yep.
And it won't go the way of the dodo.
But you've got XFS, EXT4,
Garbage.
BTRFS, ZFS, like they're all
Total
actively
junk.
supported.
So yeah, my two dads was Paul Reiser,
Hey.
Greg Evigan, and Stacy Keenan, and whoever played the judge who was like
Oh, yeah, that's right. Who put them together.
Florence Stanley played Judge Margaret W. Wilbur.
That was a fun show.
It was a fun show.
I liked that show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't like it?
I remember the show. I didn't watch it.
No,
It was TV, so I remember it with perfect recollection.
it raised me. Yeah.
Did it come on after the Vicky the Robot show?
What
What was that called? Little Wonder?
Vicky the
Small
Robot.
Wonders.
Small Wonder.
Oh.
Small Wonder, yeah.
Okay,
She's a small wonder.
that's my nickname in high school.
That's right.
All right. Our next article is about something that didn't go well, as always. So
Wah.
it is dough.
Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, so, do.
I noticed last week that Daniel always mouths along.
I do.
I hadn't realized that until I watched a little bit. For some
He's
reason.
like, Daniel is singing the song.
Yeah. When I think Julie Andrews, I think Daniel.
That's right.
Yep.
All right.
Weird in my brain.
This one is from Tom's Hardware. Microsoft confirms Windows wiping tool leaves users' data on disk. Ooh, and there's an update. So, are we wiping wrong, Don?
So the
Front to back, right?
So the update is that it's absolutely true. Turns out, well, let's back up a little bit. Microsoft really doesn't want you to format your hard drive and reinstall Windows. They're trying to make it easier. Like if you want to give your laptop to a family member or sell it on eBay, if you want to get a fresh start on Windows and just kind of reset it, there's the Windows Reset option where it will roll back any changes you've made to the system and give you a nice, clean Windows install.
You didn't throw the air. It'll roll back.
Yeah. Well, it turns out, exactly, even if you have BitLocker turned on and your drive encrypted, if you do the Windows Reset feature and roll it back to a clean install, it will take not all, but some of your data that's been stored, and it will put it in a folder on the hard drive titled windows.old. And as part of the reset process, it turns off BitLocker, so that means it's unencrypted on the disk. So if you have used the Windows Reset feature for yourself, that's not a big deal, right? I just wanted a fresh and clean install. I got that, but some of my personal data is still tucked away in this other folder. I just delete windows.old and problem solved, right?
So I should just start buying a bunch of old laptops on eBay and looking for Windows.old files.
Fact.
Yeah.
Yes. So if you've sold your laptop on eBay and you use the Windows Reset feature, well, it turns out you can't trust it for crap.
Well, there you go. Good news is I'm sure no one's reusing those passwords for any other thing.
Yeah. But it could be certain things, and I've heard different stories about what gets left behind. It could be things like your web browser's favorites. can actually become a part of that depending on where they're stored. There's certain programs where like the registry will become a part of it. So who knows what's stored in there? Potentially API keys.
Yep.
Like you could be leaking some serious data here. And unfortunately, because this is usually a tool people use before they get rid of a device, it means now you don't have a chance to correct it. If you've already gotten rid of that device.
So what's the big hairy deal about formatting your drive? Why do they not want you to format it?
Well, so they don't give you a DVD or a USB key anymore. So you'd have to make installation media to do it.
One thing I will give Apple props to, there's that whole Command R business, and it downloads everything from the internet.
Well, and part of this stems from the Windows activation process, right? So when you do the reset and roll it back like that, it doesn't have to reactivate. The system stays activated. You're licensed with Microsoft. But if you format and reinstall, it's got to reach back out to the internet and reactivate unless your motherboard supports having that identity registered with it.
Why is that a problem, though? Like, why can't I mean, I would assume you're registered with Apple when you buy their product and you start to use it. It says, hey, this is a legitimate copy. A user is using it. Like, are you registered with Apple or not?
No. macOS does not check for any kind of validation. It actually only does the most cursory check for supported hardware.
Yeah,
it's
you
very
never
easy to
see
bypass.
on Windows, you used to always see that this is not a registered copy.
But you would think
that
they could run that kind of infrastructure, though, to be able to register. Like, I bought a Windows device. When I log in, it registers with the server. The server knows that's my copy. This is the hardware that goes along with that. And you're good. If I have to reformat, it goes, oh, does that TPM or whatever it is that they use, does that fit? If it does, here's your downloaded copy. Go ahead, get installed.
Well, so there's a few challenges here. So one is now that we're getting these free upgrades, right? So the Windows 10 upgrade was free, and then the Windows 11 upgrade was free. That now if you format and install Windows 11, but your license was upgraded from 7 to 10 to 11, like apparently they don't do a good job of tracking that progress.
Well, that's their problem.
And their argument, the reason they don't do the Apple way is Apple makes their money on the hardware,
right,
not on the software.
Right.
Microsoft only makes money on the software, I guess, unless you buy an Xbox, or a Surface.
Or Surface,
right?
Surface, that's right. They're pretty popular.
And the Surfaces, they have their license is stored on the motherboard. If you buy like a modern Lenovo or Dell or whatever, usually the activation key and all that is stored on the motherboard. Yeah.
Or that old Microsoft phone we were talking about the other day, the key or.
Oh, was it Kuo or?
Well, I don't remember.
Yeah, we couldn't remember it then either. Yeah,
it looked like some BlackBerry mutated.
Yeah, flipped out. Yeah.
Yep.
Anyhow,
the key lesson here is if you're going to be getting rid of your computer, do not trust the built-in vendor tools. You just don't know if it's going to actually erase your data.
You remember when we used to buy Windows operating systems, or you bought a new laptop and it came with installation media? Mm-hmm. We could make a tidy sum. Just making installation media for people to be able to wipe their devices and do. You would think so, but Microsoft sued and like shut down a company that was selling installation media. Really?
Because it's still considered like copyright licensed material or whatever.
Even if you get like the ISO from their website?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, there was a...
What do they... let me get this straight. They are upset that we are helping their operating system proliferate.
Fact.
Okay, just making sure. Good to go.
All right. Moral of the story is
back to Linux.
Moral of the story is double check your wiping because you might not be getting it all.
That's right.
Now, by the way, I've just that's the whole new April Fool's.
I'm thinking Cardi B right now.
Oh yeah, it's a whole new April Fool's direction that I'm thinking of now of a course about making sure you're wiping everything because you might have missed a spot.
Oh, that's right.
That's fact. Sometimes data just hangs on there.
Oh,
so you have to make like a wiping expert certification now.
That's fantastic.
Yes. Peter is just sitting there
taking notes.
Yes,
at this moment. All right. Well, let's see what we've got next. Oh, it looks as though someone was pwned. So let's find out whom. Oh, I'm on the wrong screen there. That's why I couldn't find the intro. Let's find out whom was pwned. In this week's Who Got Pwned?
Looks like you're about to get pwned.
Fatality.
Yeah!
I like this because this is like a pwn, and then they played the Uno reverse card, and the pwn went back. So Nvidia allegedly hacked its hackers, stole its data back. A hacking group, Lapsus, claims to still have a copy of the data, but doesn't matter because NVIDIA has it too. So, so basically, they were hacked.
Yes.
NVIDIA.
And then they did the I'm rubber, you're glue, and hacked back.
That's
so
right. Every hack that bounces off me and sticks to you.
yeah, do we know yet how they were hacked and how they
so-
were able to get back?
So apparently the attackers were able to compromise. They were able to get into a poorly secured system on NVIDIA's network, and once they got in, they lifted about 1 terabyte of data from NVIDIA's servers, which contained employee information, technical designs, all sorts of data. NVIDIA still doesn't actually know all the data that they have. The attackers notified NVIDIA, via
give
Instagram
us
or whatever
money.
they use. And, they didn't specifically ask for money. It was very odd. It was a weird kind of thing.
What was the purpose of hacking them then?
Well, so
Shiz and Grizz?
we just kind of have to guess right now, but they think that they were working up to that, but maybe the data wasn't sensitive enough.
Gotcha.
And so we don't really know. We'll find out. But NVIDIA didn't rise to the bait. But the attackers, they were using a virtual machine to get in, and they had registered the virtual machine with NVIDIA's mobile device management platform, or MDM. Well, the security professionals that work for NVIDIA found that. And because it's an MDM, they now effectively had control of the virtual machine back at the hackers' headquarters. And they were able to use that to gain access to the attackers' network. So they found their own data and encrypted it and left a message for the attackers,
Nice.
letting them know, like, we've encrypted this data and whatever. Well, the attackers, they say, well, we've still got copies of the data, and they've started disclosing some of it. So they released some employee information on the web. I believe it was yesterday, so earlier this week, and they have threatened to release some more. They've also threatened to write a Bitcoin mining limit remover, right? And NVIDIA started
Yes.
limiting that so that regular people could get video cards again. So they're threatening to write a remover for that. But so far, Lapsus was not a big name on the hacking scene. So I think that they may not be like one of the higher level hacking teams. So I don't know what they're actually capable of. They may have just gotten lucky in this case.
Yeah, it does sound like it. Well, I mean, sometimes a lot of it is like if they were targeting NVIDIA, that's a more of a feather in their cap that they actually found something
Yeah.
and were able to exploit it. But this was a prime opportunity for NVIDIA to have written them a note that says, "Mess with the best, die like the rest," and they missed it.
They did.
I'm sad.
Well, so here's the question, and forget the international implications of this first, but let's say, Daniel, you break into my house and you steal my TV.
What is it, Thursday?
Yeah. So if I then see my TV through the window and break into your house,
Yeah.
I've still committed a crime.
Correct.
And I know obviously we're talking about, you said South America,
Yeah.
Don. So there's international law involved and all that, but didn't NVIDIA do the wrong thing here?
I don't know that we know that they're in South America. They had
they
hacked,
had hacked something in Brazil.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know that we know where they
I don't know
are.
where.
But regardless,
Does it say that they're there?
According to TechSpot, they say it is a South American hacker group. So yeah,
There you
so
go.
somewhere
this
down
is
there.
but this is vigilante justice. I mean, is this
Well,
not
correct.
what you're supposed to do?
So here's the argument against it in this case. It was very specific. The attackers had registered that virtual machine with the MDM platform at NVIDIA. And so a part of that is saying, yes, I'm allowing my device to be managed by your MDM.
Okay.
And so in that case, you could say NVIDIA didn't actually hack them. NVIDIA just said, hey, we're going to encrypt this data because it needs to be secure. And so it
So the
wasn't-
hackers didn't read the T's and
Yeah,
C's.
it was the. Yeah.
Yep.
That should be in all of NVIDIA's terms and conditions.
I would be interested, Don. What is your take on the idea of hacking back? What do you think about that?
Well, so I feel like it should be allowed, right? So there's that, but it's there's kind of
Some gray area in there.
there is and a measured response. Like, how do you measure what you're allowed to do back in return, right? So
Hasn't there been cases that have talked about how, like, as long as you only went after the data that was yours, and like, let's say I hacked back into somebody because they stole my data, and I encrypted that data, but I did nothing else. Since technically that stuff is mine, I've done no damage. But
Yeah.
then there's the nuanced semantic arguments against, well, that network wasn't yours to access, so there's a law broken.
Yeah, you
there.
broke and entering
And then
before you
you're
took the
creating-
stolen goods.
Yeah, and now you're creating this whole lawless society where it's the Wild West. If you hack me, I hack you back, and everybody's just attacking each other and it kind of
Love it.
dissolves. I mean, I think there's probably some validity to that, but I get the idea that if you hack me, I really want to hack you back, asshole. right? Like you say, talking about if you see your TV hanging on my wall, it's kind of the idea like, if you rob a drug dealer, what are they going to do? Call the cops? Right? Go, hey, you stole my drugs. Not drugs.
Yeah, but like for people that have their bike stolen and then they see it on Craigslist and scheduled to meet up with the guy to buy it, I mean, you're supposed to call the cops then.
You're not stealing it, though. You're just taking possession of your own
That's
goods.
true, because I guess you're not going into the person's home.
Right. As soon as they hand it over to you, and if I didn't kick your door in to go in and take it,
you can't.
I've committed zero
You can't
crimes.
steal what isn't someone else's.
Right.
Well, and running with that same analogy, though, like the type of person that's going to steal your bike is probably not the type of person that's going to willingly give it back, right?
Right.
So if you're going to hack back, like you got to be ready,
for repercussions.
Level 2.
Reprisals.
Yeah.
So
because they're not playing by those same rules that you are.
Or they're already like beyond following the rules anyway.
Yeah,
so
exactly. Because you're saying, NVIDIA might go in and say, well, we're only going to encrypt our stuff now.
Yeah.
Well, they could have gone in and encrypted other stuff once they had access.
Right.
But now the reprisal is going to be up another level. So you're Yeah.
Do you think they are reasonable people? That's a judgment
They
call.
might just say, well played,
Yeah.
shake NVIDIA's hand and move on.
That's true.
We don't know. There's honor among thieves, I'm told. No, is that not right? All right. Well, we want to talk about Ukraine. A lot going on there, and a lot going on from a technology perspective in that. And we also then want to play a little game to end things on a lighter note again, so we don't just leave you all depressed like everything else. But we're going to take a quick break and come back and do that right after this on TechNado with Don Pizzette.
Welcome to IT Pro TV, an e-learning company with thousands of hours of engaging video training for IT teams, with fresh training courses added daily. What makes IT Pro TV stand out? It all starts with our edutainers, who create better-than-classroom experiences for training your team will look forward to watching.
So an edutainer is someone who takes a topic, an educational topic, and makes it more fun, enjoyable. My vision for IT Pro TV was to make the product that I wish I had when I got started.
The dashboard is great because you can actually pick up right where you left off. You can also end up seeing new courses that are available to you, and with a membership, you have access to a variety of study tools.
You can follow along with virtual labs and test your skills with practice tests. IT leaders can also take advantage of the Pro Portal to help their team grow.
The IT Pro TV Pro Portal gives leaders the power to manage their investment in IT training. They can assign seats and courses and check in on progress to ensure their outcomes are being met.
And unlike traditional training, you aren't handcuffed to your desk. Sure, you can watch from there or from your couch with Apple TV and Roku apps, or from anywhere using mobile apps. The training is even available for download. If you're ready for your team to watch and learn, check out the flexible plan choices online and request a live demo for your business today at www.itpro.tv.
All right, welcome back to TechNado with Don Pizzette. And as we mentioned, the big story going on outside of the tech world this week is definitely the conflict in Ukraine, Russia and Ukraine and EU and NATO and all the craziness. And we're not going to get into that because there's enough going on with people talking about that know what they're talking about. But we know the technology side, and there's a lot going on the technology side with this because we predicted, or we had an article a few weeks back that was saying, be ready for the cyber warfare that's going to come, and there were warnings that the U.S. put out to different companies. But are we seeing that, Don? Is that, or is it really more focused to Ukraine and Russia right now?
So it's a lot different than we expected. So there was one general who said that you could expect Russia to do the cyber equivalent of shock and awe against Ukraine, right? When we had was it Desert Shield when we did Shock and Awe?
Desert Storm, I think,
Desert Storm,
first. Yeah, because that was the first one.
Sense. Yep.
Yeah.
Where like we just dropped an ungodly amount of ordnance.
Or Shock and Awe was the second Gulf War.
I thought it was the second Gulf
Yeah,
War.
Which wasn't the Desert Storm. Desert
That was
Shield.
after 9/11.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's W. Yeah.
So
W.
either way, it
Yeah,
was
there
an
was some
effective
shock and awe.
strategy
Yeah.
that worked, right? And so they were saying we were going to have the cyber warfare equivalent of that, and that we could expect the internet and other systems to go down in Ukraine. That didn't happen. So there have been some denial of service attacks. There has been some other things flowing across the network. Cloudflare released a statement, and they were saying that it was a moderate amount of data. So, they've dealt with far greater in the past. So we really haven't seen that cyber warfare piece. Although we are starting to see a little bit of it in reverse. So a lot of activists have started getting involved, and the one that's probably the biggest right now is the Anonymous group. Anonymous, who in the past had plagued all sorts of weird things. It's hard to nail down what their platform is.
Because they're disparate.
What's a disjointed?
People, right?
Yeah.
You're
there
going
a
to
head?
get these random attacks based off of whoever decides to lead a charge.
Yeah.
And anyone can say they're anonymous.
Yeah.
1 month it's like stop blood diamonds in Africa, and the next month it's Ticketmaster.
Yeah.
It's just like all over the place.
I mean, those are kind of equal bad. Have you ever paid those fees?
I mean, it's like blood diamonds.
Well, either way, Anonymous has declared open war on the Russian government, the Russian state. So they are now attacking, and you're actually seeing a lot of Russian media sites and other places are going offline or starting to display messages that are Ukrainian support messages that are popping up. It's kind of interesting to see that. As somebody standing on the sidelines, it's interesting to see it. It'd probably be really frustrating to be on either side.
I would assume so. But that's kind of interesting that they, like you said, you get this weird ally that comes to your aid to say, oh, we're going after these people that are coming after you, and the only way we know how, which is to hit them in the internets.
Yeah.
And they're changing TV channels and stuff like that, and
that's probably doing more than sanctions, to the general
right, because the
individual
sanctions
person.
we have talked about using sanctions that were cyber warfare type of sanctions, but I don't think we've.
But the sanctions are hitting the oligarchs and the people in power, not necessarily the general citizen who's like, oh, my ATM doesn't work anymore because.
And I saw that a bunch of Russian citizens are protesting the war at their own peril as well.
Yeah, they'll be in jail.
Yeah.
You do have to wonder about how effective this is, though, and think about it in terms of yourself, right?
Yeah.
So let's say that the cyber warfare was targeted at the United States, and they took the IRS website offline.
Right.
Right? Or the Department of Education website went offline.
We're kind of going, hey, yeah, nice. Good job, guys.
I mean, they did it. Great, right?
Well, that was louder than I thought.
And we could blame not paying your taxes on cyber warfare.
So I don't think these are effective tactics.
Yeah.
I think it's just kind of like a nuisance.
Throw whatever against the wall and see what sticks kind of thing.
Yeah. So we'll see where that goes, but it does show how this is kind of a new stage of warfare that anyone on the planet can actively get involved, affecting whichever side. Because I'm sure there's obviously in the U.S. media we just see the people that support Ukraine, but there's probably people out there that support Russia,
most
right?
likely.
And so they're doing a similar campaign. There's other things that we've seen that are really cool in technology.
Like a lot of big business getting involved, like big U.S. companies that are doing what they can.
They are, and some of that's really weird. The CEO of Namecheap, so Namecheap is a DNS registrar. Okay. He made a posting, it was an email actually, that went out to all of his customers. I saw it on Hacker News where somebody posted the email, where he basically said, look, if you have a Russian address, we are no longer doing business with Russians. You need to move your domains elsewhere by March 6th.
So a .ru, we're saying?
No, just any domain. So, like, if you're a Russian citizen and you bought a .com domain from Namecheap, you got to move to another. Like, they're not going to support you.
Wow.
A lot of people said, we're kind of accusing the CEO of just virtue signaling. Like, well, what does that really do? Now you're making the common person have to move their domains.
Yeah. And they don't maybe necessarily even agree with what's happening and how they're feeling the brunt of it just because they happen to live in Russia.
But it turns out the Namecheap has like 1,000 employees in Ukraine.
Oh, really?
So it's a little bit personal to them, and so it totally makes sense.
Oh, that makes sense.
But some of the bigger like gas companies, I don't know all the politics behind
BP
that
was
pulling
out of some stuff.
But on the technology side, stuff like DNS registrars, that's a big deal.
That's a big deal.
And Google was one that we were talking about that they're turning off services.
Oh yeah, that's really interesting because there's things we use every single day that we don't think about the warfare capabilities of, and Google Maps is one of those, right? So Google Maps has live traffic reporting, so you can see where convoys are, where large amounts of people are, which can be used as military data. And so Google has actually cut that service off in the Ukraine right now. That's not them necessarily taking a political stance one way or another, but
just we don't want to be a part of anybody's war.
Yeah.
Right.
So
because they're turning it off for Ukrainians and Russians.
Yeah.
Which.
Right. Well, because that's where the conflict is happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know Elon got involved as well, but he it's kind of taking a side for sure on this one.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but I really don't like Elon Musk. He's such a
Every
D-bag.
time he opens his mouth, I kind of loathe him a little bit more. I
So
used to
he's
be like, oh, he's
weird.
so cool. Yeah.
There are things like he does like cool things, and then he opens his mouth and says dumb stuff,
Yeah.
and you're like, stop making me love hate you,
Yeah.
you moron. Just,
And God,
just
you were a
shut
bad
the hell
actor
up.
on Saturday Night Live.
Was he? I
It
didn't see
was
it.
so bad. It was so awkward.
But
I feel like
this
Saturday Night
time,
Live's just gotten shit. Anyway.
Yeah, but you got to watch the Elon episode. It was
was
like cringe. Yeah.
the epitome of just
Yeah.
garbage TV.
Yeah.
Nice. Anyway, so
it
sorry,
has,
Don.
like SNL always, it has its moments, right?
does.
There's a couple.
Yeah.
Like, you know, a
One
year.
sketch. Yeah, one sketch every couple weeks.
They've been in like a rebuilding year for
4 or
9 or
5
10
years.
years.
now?
Yeah. So-
But Elon.
Elon.
But Elon, so Starlink, right? I think we might have talked about this a few weeks ago. I have a couple of friends now who have gotten Starlink and have been really impressed with the low latency and the high speeds
Yeah, we
they
talked
get
about
on
the
it.
business plan that they just rolled out of
That's right.
the higher speed stuff.
So it's been working really well for people, and I didn't even think about until the eruption in Tonga about how Starlink can actually be rolled out to areas that have lost internet connectivity to quickly get them back online, and not back online with like crappy dial-up.
No, with like some
Yeah, high
serious
speed.
internet. Yeah.
Yeah, because they lost an underground cable.
The
after
one
that
cable
volcano.
that runs to Tonga, yeah.
Nice.
So, so what Elon was able to do, or more specifically his people, I don't think he actually did it, but
No, he drove.
just
he
said,
drove a truck.
Do that.
But they were able to position some of their Starlink clusters, right? Because they have over 1,000 satellites in space right now. So they were able to position several over the Ukraine. And I don't know why I say the Ukraine. They were able to position the satellites
Yeah.
over Ukraine. There we go. And,
Over Ukraine.
and they drop shipped or FedExed or whatever the Starlink.
I don't know if FedEx is still running.
Yeah,
right
I
now.
did think that. I was like, how are they delivering this?
Well, I
Like-
saw a military truck. I mean, again, you got to take every image you see now with a grain of salt. You know, it's just misinformation. But it was a truck with hundreds of the boxes of the dishes, and it looked like a military truck. So they probably got it to where they could, then transferred it to
I
whomever.
just
But-
thought the UPS driver had a flak jacket on. I was like, what can Brown do?
It was a
for you?
Cybertruck.
But how do those work, Don? Is that like an individual thing where, like, if I want access in my home, I need one dish, or can I put one dish on the roof and give it to 500 residents in
You
this?
could do that.
The dish itself, it does only provide one connection, but you just stick a router on it, and
Okay.
and ideally, what they'll do is they'll take their shelters, right? So they've got bomb shelters or municipal centers or whatever. Stick the antenna up, and then run it down to a Wi-Fi router or whatever inside the complex so that multiple people can use it. It's designed to make sure that they stay connected to the internet so they can keep reporting on what's going on the ground. And that's probably the biggest difference about this conflict from anything we've seen in the past is we're getting real-time data from people on the ground as it's happening. And Peter, right before the show, I showed you a website, which is liveuamap.com, which is super awesome because what they do is they watch all the social media platforms, Twitter and Instagram and TikTok and whatever. Yeah. And whenever somebody posts a video that says something like, whoa, I just saw a building explode, right? They catch that, they validate it to make sure that it's at least plausible, and then they throw it on a map. And so in real time, you can pull this up and see like what activity is going on. It's really amazing. Today is actually a fairly quiet day over in Ukraine, but when this whole thing first started, you could see like where there was gunfire, where bombs were being dropped, where military planes were, all in real time, all thanks to crummy social media.
Man, generals in years past probably like, man, if we only had that.
Yeah.
Back in our day.
Yeah, well, we were joking. They had the big sticks, and they're moving big chess pieces
We
across.
just received confirmed reports from.
I mean,
3 days ago.
You watch those air battles, and they're like people up there moving magnets and stuff. And this is
well, that was one of the big issues in the Battle of Mogadishu was they were having to the helicopters in the skies, the Black Hawks that were up there watching.
Oh, the surveillance ones.
in Somalia, right? They were watching the battle and then relaying that back to the general and his staff. Then they would make decisions, relay that back to the Blackhawks, and the Blackhawks would have to relay that back down. So it was like, even with that short period of time, it was moving things so slowly they could not adapt fast enough, and eventually had to say, okay, just come back.
Yeah.
Just come back. We'll have to regroup and go back and get the people that are stuck.
Yeah, this, as you said, Don, it's liveuamap.com, and it shows things like bombs. It shows things like internet outages, which is interesting because obviously they're able to track that. Shows bullets, shows helicopters being deployed, people being arrested, what is this, deaths even in some areas. So it's pretty interesting. And it's got even kind of some highlights that we were talking about before the show of it looks to be, areas that have come under Russian control within Ukraine. So you can kind of see the front lines, which is something, you wouldn't see normally.
So if you're like me and you think social media is dumb and a cancer on society, well, it actually does have some uses.
So, it just goes to show you, it's not the tool, it's the intent behind it, right? The intent usually behind social media is usually pretty stupid. But as a tool, it could be used for other purposes to great ends.
Yeah, used by many tools.
That's right. Used by many tools.
Throughout the United States.
Well said, sir.
Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah, but it is, it is true, though, that this becomes... those social media that we joke about become the ways that people communicate when the phone lines go down, when the mail service isn't running now. Facebook, WeChat, things like that is how these people are getting these stories out. So definitely good to see. So check that out, and I'm sure we'll have more next week as far as news goes as we see other companies do things and changes in technology, because this is a very fluid situation.
Indeed.
But like I said, we didn't want to end on a downer today, which this is, right? So I thought we could have a little fun.
Shall we play a game?
Though I just realized war games as an intro, not the way to be fun. But I didn't have an intro for this game, so here we go. What we want to do is we realized that Don and Daniel have known each other for quite some time. How long have you guys known each other now? Before you worked here?
It's about 20 years.
Has it been that long?
Almost, right?
Almost, yeah. Almost 20 years.
So, in theory, you should know a lot about each other. So we're going to play our version of the Newlywed game, which, was where they would get couples and see how much they knew each other.
They would get couples, and they would wait for them to be married 20 years, and then they would
ask them questions.
You have some that were older and some that were new, and you'd kind of see how that
He leaves those socks on the couch one more time.
Weird game, too. Is that it wasn't like Family Feud, but I think the guy did go around and kiss all the girls.
Oh,
do you remember who was the Family Feud
host?
Was
it what's the one
the guy from Running Man?
Yeah.
Yes.
I can't remember his name, but yeah,
Gillian.
Richard.
And he was Richard Dawson, right?
Dawson,
he was
in.
Speaking of Hogan's Heroes, right? He was in that.
He's like, why are you making out with my wife? So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna ask Don questions about Daniel.
Okay.
And I'm gonna ask you both to write them down on the boards in front of you. And I know this is a visual medium for some, but we will relay obviously what we're putting. So the first one is we want to know what Daniel's favorite food is. His favorite food. So if you can both write an answer, and then Don, let me know when you've got that written down, and we'll go ahead and.
I hope alternate spellings count.
I think they do.
All right.
Okay, we got it. That was quick. All right, so Daniel, have you written it down too?
I've written it down.
All right, Don, what you got? What do you think?
My guess is ketchup.
Ketchup, a condiment as the favorite
A
food.
condiment.
Does he know Daniel? Daniel, what
Are
do
you
you
ready?
got? Yeah.
Ketchup.
Ketchup. Wow. I did not expect that.
Now, Daniel, is that your actual favorite food, or did you just know I would say that?
I just knew you would say that.
Well, what is your favorite food, Daniel?
What is my favorite food? It's probably spaghetti. Yeah.
With ketchup.
No, not with ketchup.
A true Italian.
Like, I can literally eat buckets of spaghetti. I still
Really?
can love that
All right.
stuff. Yeah.
All right, what was Daniel's best subject in school?
His best subject in school.
Yeah. If you know the guy by now, you got to know.
Gee.
Is he a mathlete? Is he a big old history buff there? What are you thinking?
All right. I'm going to...
Have we both answered?
On this one. All right.
We both answered?
Yep.
All right. Don, what do you got?
So I think that Daniel's a fairly knowledgeable person. I'm going to go with English.
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 Oh, my gosh. God, these two are like an old married couple.
Because reading is dumb.
This is sad.
Reading dumb as hell. I got it under good authority.
All right, this one might be a tricky one, but I feel like Daniel talks about this enough in the office where maybe we might get this. So who is Daniel's favorite guitarist?
Oh.
Favorite guitarist. Daniel, big guitar guy. He went right to the pen. He knows who it is, obviously. But, a collector of guitars, a player of guitars, and something that he's passionate about. Anytime we have a guest on with guitars in the background, that's what we're talking about. All right, Don, what'd you go with?
I don't know the guy's name.
I think if you're close enough on this.
So I'm going to put the guy from Creed.
So That is not a bad guess.
Is it?
And I
Okay.
almost went with that. His name is Mark Tremonti.
That'd be great if you had written the guy from Creed. With arms wide open.
I'm not a Creed fan.
No one
he
is.
in another band. Actually, in 2 other bands that I do like him in. But I went with Eddie Van Halen.
Yeah,
But
solid.
That was not a bad answer.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how to spell Yngwie Malmsteen. or
Eddie Van
whatever,
Halen,
so I
the
just gave up on
guitarist
that.
from Beat It, right?
Which
that's
was
right.
Eddie Van Halen.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Actually,
saying, the
Steve
guitar-
Lukather played the rhythm sections, and the only thing Eddie did was play the solo.
The solo on,
Yeah.
on Beat It. Yeah,
But
that
it
was
was
a
Steve
great one.
Lukather from Toto that did the rest
Really?
of it. Yeah.
I didn't know he only
I
did
didn't
the
know.
solo.
Yep.
Yeah, he knocks before he comes in.
Yep.
All right, let's. Oh, I think he also did in Back to the Future. He does the noise that Marty
Yes.
plays to his father
like,
when he's dressed as a
"Darth
spaceman.
Vader." Yes,
it's
that
Eddie
is
Van
Eddie Van
Halen just
Halen.
riffing.
Yes.
Yeah, very cool. All right.
When he goes in his father, he's got the radiation suit on. And he says, "My name is Darth Vader."
Yeah, I'm from the planet Vulcan, and because he's trying to convince his dad, he has to ask out his
Right,
mom.
His mom.
And the
You gotta
next day,
rewatch
it's
Back
like,
I guess I'll have to
Future,
rewatch it.
man.
oh my
yeah.
gosh! Wow, yeah. All right, next up, this is a yes. This is a yes/no because the last one was
okay.
pretty hard, so he's got a 50-50 chance. Does Daniel have the default phone wallpaper on his phone or a custom one?
So we're writing yes, I do, or no, I don't.
Sure. Yeah, we'll say, does he have the default phone? Yeah, yes or no.
Okay.
Don, what do you got?
I'm going to say yes. I think he does.
He doesn't strike me as the kind of guy who would change it. No.
No.
Oh, we got the family?
Was it My Little Pony?
I do not have the phone. I got on my brony phase long ago.
What is it? What do you got
so
there?
I think I have a wallpaper that I just downloaded off some site because I don't know, for whatever, I like dark wallpapers. And
Not dark thematically, but
right,
dark
but as in
physically.
like when you look at it,
Yes.
it's not very
It's
bright.
corpses.
Yeah.
Stacks of
It's
bodies.
nothing but cannibal corpse covers. Album covers. Right?
Yeah, that makes
sense. Yeah, just that it's dark, so when I'm looking at it in the dark.
Now you've
it
got the
doesn't
lock
blind me.
screen, and then you've got the wallpaper. Are they
They're
both
both
custom?
the same, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Interesting. All right, and last one for Daniel here. If you know anything about Daniel, you know that he has had some jobs. Daniel has done everything. Like you ask, you're
I
like,
like how you say, that boy, he been to work.
there was that old Living Color sketch where it's like, got to get a job. Remember, like the Jamaicans where they had like 10 jobs each?
Vaguely.
Yeah. Anyway, that's Daniel. So what was Daniel's most difficult job? His hardest job? If he had to say, this was the hardest I've worked, and I don't think it's now.
Oh, man.
Well, nobody would know that. Not even.
I mean, you
Don
talk
would know.
about all your jobs.
I do, but I've had so many.
I know, but
How many? Like, which one would you choose?
I mean, I got my guess.
Obviously, I didn't like many of them.
I know the job I want to answer just because it sounds funny.
Well, go for it.
I'm gonna put that one. I don't think it's right, but
All right, so
I
far,
will say, all right, just because it's
so far, Don has gotten 2 out of 4 correct here. So we'll see if he's over 500 or below for his round with this
you're
one.
writing
Daniel
a
is-
lot over there.
Yes, because I'm being
I was assistant to the regional manager. Oh, okay, Don, what do you
I'm
got?
ready to go.
All right, now I know Daniel at some point or another worked in construction and helped build a bridge, and that sounds like really hard work to me, but that's not what I put because I also know that Daniel was an escort.
Which is true.
Oh, wait. Yeah.
This is true.
An escort for big semis, right? Like for the wide loads, right?
Yeah, that's
Well,
it.
yeah, if you want to get specific, but
Let's just say things like missiles, right?
It was rockets, not missiles.
Rockets.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's whatever
Yeah.
euphemism you want to use.
I put the Starlink system into the sky.
There you go.
Or not. It was a
What do you
while
got,
ago,
Daniel?
but, I went Farm Bureau help desk.
oh yeah,
Right.
yeah,
So
the
when
help desk.
I started working at Farm Bureau with Don, my first job there was on the help desk, and I believe that I got so angry one time that I threw my headset and it exploded.
I think being the escort's not bad because you're sitting, you're driving.
sitting.
That was not a hard job.
Yeah.
No, that was a
Yeah.
good job.
I mean, there's
Yeah, it was
times
fun.
where it's complicated. You're having to figure out a bridge or something, but most of the time you're just
rarely was it difficult.
Yeah,
but
long hours.
Usually it was fun and stuff. We got to see the whole country and. I'm going to Boeing and watching them test fire rockets and shit
pretty
like
cool.
that.
Yeah.
Man, that junk was fun.
But talking to insurance salespeople about why their computer isn't working.
Bruh, I'd rather shove bamboo shoots underneath my fingernails, put bags of rats on my head.
yeah, do whatever keeps you
more
going.
than one
All right.
bag.
Yeah, more than one bag.
Well, let's flip this up now. So Don got 2 out of 5 correct about Daniel. No, he got the first two. He got the favorite food and the best subject in school. Didn't get guitarist, the wallpaper, or the hardest job. I don't know what's going on over there.
I dropped my marker almost on myself.
Right. So let's now we're asking Don the questions and seeing if Daniel can match them. So we'll try to go quick here. What we talk about a lot here are movies, a lot of 80s movies, things like that. What is Don's favorite movie franchise?
Oh, favorite movie franchise.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a tough one.
That is a tough one. So,
I mean, I know what I would go with, but I don't know.
But you said franchise.
I did say franchise, so we're not picking an individual movie necessarily.
This.
Exactly. That's what I was trying to make it easier.
Well, I'm trying to think now because
Don doesn't even know
I'm
his.
going to go with what I think.
Well, don't you tell him what you're trying to influence him. Because Don hasn't written down his yet.
Yeah, I got to try and think what's my favorite franchise. Like
all right, I locked it in.
McDonald's.
Series of movies that I would just jump right in to see the next one.
Yeah, if you had if Desert Island, you only get to bring one movie franchise with you.
Huh.
On DVD or Blu-ray.
Yeah, this is, I guess.
All right, he's writing now.
I hedged my bets.
Can you do that?
Oh,
all right, Daniel, what do you got?
I got Predator or Alien.
I totally didn't think about that. That would have been a much better answer. Yeah.
I was going to say Ghostbusters. What'd you go with, Don?
Ghostbusters would have been good too. Damn it!
I mean, you've got in your office, you've got Vigo the Carpathian, you've got the Lego Firehouse.
I guess I don't think of it as a franchise.
Right. It's a franchise is like
at
least 3 or more.
We got a which
Ghostbusters would be my.
Now it does.
Yes, now is when I asked him.
So, all right, Ghostbusters would have definitely that would absolutely be my favorite franchise.
Okay, but what did you put?
I put Star Wars. Like I like Star Wars, but
Nerd.
the movies, a lot of the movies suck.
Nerd. All right, well, this one should be easier for you.
All right.
I think. What is Don's favorite Linux distro?
Of all time or right now?
Well, I'm asking right now. I guess we'll go with right now. Right now, what's his favorite of all time?
Yeah, that's
what's his favorite of all time?
but right now.
Hold on, what?
If you asked him right now, his favorite of all time.
All right.
Right Daniel, what do you got?
I've got Ubuntu.
Ubuntu?
I got Ubuntu.
Ubuntu, all right.
Yep. But it was RHEL for a long time.
If you said of all time, I would have went RHEL.
Yep.
Interesting. All right. Next up, what is Don's favorite band? Don's a big music buff.
Okay.
You should get that one.
You should.
Yeah, I got that.
You really should. All right. We've already written our answers here. Daniel, what do you got?
I got Megadeth.
Megadeth. See, I figured we'd go with the tattoo. Don, what do you got?
Megadeth.
All right.
And I was going to say Megadeth because they used to they would get on public transit with older people and they would say, oh, what's your band? And they were like, oh, we're a Celtic band. Megadeth.
That's awesome. All right. You're tied with Daniel now with 2 you guys are tied at 2.
Two each?
So if you get there's 2 more questions. We'll do them quick here and we'll see if you can pull ahead, Daniel. So all right, if Don, this is another 50-50 because I wanted to make that fair for both of you. If Don had to choose between only having a cell phone or a car for the rest of his life, which would he choose?
A cell phone or a car?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, with the cell phone, you can call an Uber. With the car, you can go to who you want to talk to.
I guess I could.
So that's a tricky one.
All right.
Tricky one. What do you got, Daniel?
I went with car.
Car. I would have gone cell phone.
I chose car. Yep.
Wow, congratulations.
Because you can drive to a computer.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And tablets these days.
What you do is run somebody over that had a phone in their hand.
There you go. Well, tablets these days have, built-in LTE and stuff like that, so you're pretty close. And who uses the phone to call?
But then I'd have to ride the bus and stuff. And
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see if you can pull way far ahead, Daniel, even though you've already won with the last one. When Don is alone in the car.
Oh, man.
No.
What if I just have a cell phone?
Whoa.
What volume is the music at? So we want a number 1 through 10. This is not Spinal Tap. This does not go to 11.
Huh.
If he's listening to Megadeth, did I say it wrong?
Yeah. No, that's fine.
If he's listening to Megadeth, what is that volume at? Is it ear piercing?
I feel like
If this were Wes,
Yeah.
it would be 10.
It'd be 10, yeah.
Wes,
It would be 10.
I broke the knob
Your
off.
10, my 10, all the 10s put together.
All right, what do you got,
I
Daniel?
went with 5.
A 5.
4.
A 4.
Yeah.
that's-
Well, I mean, you still win, right?
He still
still
does win. Yeah. Daniel had 3, and Don had 2. So congratulations. But I think what we learned is you guys do know each other very well because those questions were difficult.
And the ones we missed, we were still pretty close on.
Yeah.
You were.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ketchup. Favorite food? Ketchup.
So that is a funny story because the first time I set one of Don's boot camps back in the day, and we all went to lunch for the boot camp, and we were
Sonny's, right?
no,
Barbecue.
it was at Gators.
Oh, it was at Gators.
It was at
Okay.
Gators,
Gators,
and we all ordered, and I see Don going. He's like, I smell ketchup. Oh, because I cover my fries in ketchup. They are swimming in it.
So much ketchup, you could smell it.
Yeah.
Several feet away.
We used to have a guy named Donald in the sales team, and I went with him to a business trip, and he said, "Hey, this is a really great conference. Let's go to a nice steakhouse for the last dinner." And so we go to the steakhouse, and he asks for ketchup with his steak. And nice steakhouse.
Yeah.
The waiter laughs, "Yes, sir, okay," and walks away.
He's like,
and I'm
"Well,
like, "You're not getting your ketchup," because that guy
ketchup
thought you were kidding. And he asked the waiter, and he comes back again. He's like, "We have a tomato aioli. I can." He's like, "I guess, whatever." Yeah. All right. Hey, I want to let you know about a webinar coming up. Avoid Cisco exam traps, the 3 most difficult CCNA objectives. Ronnie Wong is going to be doing that Thursday, March the 10th. And it is Cisco month, so we're going to be looking at another one a little bit later on in the month as well. I'll tell you about later. But head over to itpro.tv/webinars where you can register for that one and find out if you're getting ready for that CCNA exam, what you really need to focus on while you are preparing. Also, head over to technado.com, and there you can see all the latest episodes. You can subscribe, get some swag, tell us some feedback, what you want to hear us talk about. And you can also hit the big orange button that says subscribe to IT Pro TV. Not subscribe. It's sponsored by IT Pro TV. But when you're there, you can subscribe. And you can get 30% off the lifetime of your personal membership with a coupon code available on that site. So definitely check that out. And you can also request a team trial if you are part of a business and want to find out about special pricing and special features available to teams. That's all over at technado.com. All right, guys, this was fun.
It was fun.
Yeah, we got to dig a little bit more into the news and have a little fun and talk about world politics. And
Yes, be damned.
yeah,
It's a crazy world out there.
it is a crazy world out there, and hopefully it doesn't get too much crazier the next week. But be safe, everybody, and we will see you next week right here on TechNado with Don Pizzette.